Recording in progress.
Welcome to the Midweek Mailbag, Week 1 edition. We made it. It is currently Tuesday evening, right before the start of the NFL season, which of course starts on a Thursday night. This time not including our Detroit Lions, which I'm kind of glad about. Lions do get a primetime game. It is officially Los Angeles Rams week. My name is Jeremy Reisman. I'm the producer over at prideofdetroit.com. You can find me at Detroit on the Line. With me, as always, and going forward, I guess, maybe not as, more importantly, going forward for this entire season, answering your mailbag questions is the general manager, managing editor. There it is.
Nope, you had it right.
The general managing editor of Pride of Detroit. You can find him at Erik Schlitt on Twitter. Erik Schlitt is here. Buddy, we get to do this for another season again, man.
Whew. It's always a fun time to be doing the mailbag, interaction with fans, answering questions. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and we're going to have a really nice mix of questions here. I kind of tried to put them into somewhat categories of like bigger picture questions for the 2024 season, because in essence, this is kind of a preview of the season type of show, but also It's Rams week. So I'm going to fit some Rams questions kind of in there towards the end of the show. But I wanted to fit as many in as possible, and we know we are long-winded, so let's just jump right into some questions here. Our first one comes from our good friend Dan Pask, who asks, who would be your guess for the 53rd spot on the roster, possibly from the outside, possibly from outside the practice squad? Just longer part of the question, but point remains, Lions are at 52 players right now. Dan Campbell was asked about this and kind of gave a roundabout answer about how it gives us flexibility. What's your theory about the open roster spot right now?
I'm almost leaning towards it not being filled. There's I don't know how well it's known that if a veteran is on the 53-man roster for week 1, their contract becomes fully guaranteed for the rest of the season. And I wonder if the Lions want to marry themselves to any of the veterans on the practice squad for the entire season without really knowing what they have maybe at receiver, or, knowing that they're going to have a couple nose tackles coming back from injury, because I do think the couple of people that make the most sense are either like on the defensive line or at wide receiver. And so unless somebody stands out this week that all of a sudden becomes like, okay, we got to have them, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw 2 roster elevations, maybe at those 2 positions, and no signing, and then you just have one less player you have to make inactive on game day.
Yeah, that's kind of my theory. And we talked a little bit about it. I don't remember who was on the actual podcast yesterday or during a break, but I don't love the roster gymnastics to avoid paying a player, but to me it makes the most sense that this is a roster spot that's essentially earmarked for Pecco, because they need a nose tackle on the 53-man roster that can either help give DJ Reader a break, or maybe start in place of DJ Reader in case DJ Reader isn't ready. And I'm with you. I think at this point, he's in line to take that job. He's in line to get elevated for week 1. But you look at the nose tackle position long term for the season. You get Broderick Martin back. You have DJ Reader there. At that point, Kyle Peko might not be on the roster, or they might put him back down to the practice squad. He might not have the use that he does early in the season, and so the Lions are probably thinking, why pay that guy for an entire season if, maybe in a month he's just going to be back down to the practice squad. And I get it. You take the loopholes where you can get them. It's kind of a bummer for a veteran like Kyle Peko to get that treatment, but the CBA is what it is, and the Lions aren't the only team that does things like this. And what's, I think, interesting, too, about the situation is I also think once Kyle Peko jumps onto the 53-man roster, which I think he will next week, that opens up a veteran spot on the practice squad, which I think CJ Moore retakes, who was released earlier this week, because he can't. They needed to create a veteran spot on the practice squad because they were already at their 6 maximum. And I think they thought, well, we're going to be without CJ Moore for a week, but I think we're cool with that. I think we can handle that. It's not ideal, especially since if you looked at who participated in practice today, more importantly, who didn't. Fatou Melifonwu and Lauren Strickland didn't practice, so now they're a little shorthanded at safety. So maybe there's a little bit extra movement there that they didn't expect, but maybe the fact that they haven't made a move yet means there's nothing to worry about with Lauren Strickland. I don't know.
Yeah, I think if we don't see any movement by the end of tomorrow, then that'll be a pretty good indication they're not as worried about safety. I kind of read that that part of Danny Campbell's press conference yesterday as when he said we need to see how things shake out. I read that or interpreted that as he was waiting to see if they maybe needed a safety, right? Or like an injury position. They were waiting to see more about injuries as opposed to we're waiting to see who's going to step up type of thing. So I do think it'll be interesting to see the official injury report and see where the guys are who are currently injured or have been currently injured for the last couple of weeks, where they land with their participation levels. And once we get those on Wednesday, I think we'll have a much clearer picture on where things are headed.
Well, speaking of roster elevations, the Lions get 2 of them per week, and I think we can expect at least one with Peko. Nate Savage has a question about maybe the other one and says, what practice squad wide receiver would you most like to see elevated in week 1?
All right. So who I would like and who I think will happen are 2 different things, right? Because in my opinion, Tim Patrick is probably going to end up being like their best option based on the fact that he's been playing well. He looks like he's recovered from his injuries. And so he seems to be the guy who is the most ready. At the same time, he may not be the guy that's the most ready for the Lions in week 1.
Yeah.
That would be Donovan Peoples-Jones. It's almost based solely on the fact that Donovan Peoples-Jones knows the playbook. He knows the terminology. He knows what they're expecting. And if Tim Patrick or Allen Robinson don't have a long enough or don't have the time to get themselves up to speed quickly, I could see the Lions elevating Donovan Peoples-Jones and then saying, this is your opportunity. You didn't show us anything in training camp. Show us something now to show that you can hold off these 2 veterans that we brought in, 2 veterans that very much fit what they're looking to do.
Well, I think I'm with you. And I actually talked to Jared Goff, I asked Jared Goff this question today. When you have 2 guys that come into the room this late in the process, literally in week 1, is there any way you can get them up to speed? Is there anything you do in particular to get them ready to go? And he says, well, yeah, I mean, we can kind of, during special teams drills, I like to pull them aside and kind of go over things, maybe throw them a few balls, go over terminology, things like that. But then he also said, these guys are like veterans, right? These guys are 5, 6, 7. I mean, Allen Robinson is a 10-year vet. Like they know what's up. They know how to tackle an offense in an efficient manner, and so that kind of to me opens up the window of like maybe one of those guys is going to be ready. Unfortunately, I didn't get to talk to either one of them. I only got to see Allen Robinson in the locker room, and some other writers were already talking to him. But I'm leaving open the possibility of one of those guys. I'm also leaving open the possibility of none of them getting elevated in week 1.
Ooh.
I mean,
what's last year they only had 4 available for the Kansas City game.
Right.
So it's not, now granted that was the only time they had 4 the entire season, but they still did it in week 1,
Yeah.
right? So
right. And
I do think there's a similar approach that you take with this team that you did in Kansas City.
Right. And especially if they need a defensive back, right? If they need an extra safety, like that could take up the spot. How important is it to have a wide receiver X in this particular game that is, I mean, let's be honest, it's only going to be a situational role. To me, my guess is, considering the 3 guys that are their top 3 have been repping with each other with the first team for the past 2-3 weeks, this is just going to be like a red zone role, a sub package role. This is going to be a 10 to 15 snap role, in my opinion. And so you don't necessarily need to use a practice squad spot on a wide receiver.
I tell you, if Allen Robinson is going to sneak past, most of us are looking at this and saying Tim Patrick or, maybe, Peoples-Jones are able to make this work. But I think Allen Robinson's being slept on a little bit here. And he is arguably the best run blocker of the trio.
Yeah.
And if you are going to try and run the ball on the Rams, Allen Robinson may be a guy that you elevate and just go have, beat up on people and go have him run block. Because honestly, for a veteran, it's mostly terminology that they're trying to learn. Like, offenses run a lot of the same concepts, right? So all you really have to know if you're an Allen Robinson or a Tim Patrick is, I'm going to be in 20, 25 plays, and, I'm going to have this is my key term for knowing I got to run block. This is my key term for knowing I got to do this. And so, like, you can try and get those ingrained in them, so that they're ready for week 1. But I do think Allen Robinson's run blocking could be a sneaky path to him getting on an elevation.
We kind of answered a lot of this already, but since it's related, I'll bring it in here. Ash Soden asks on Twitter, do you think the Lions are planning to do a trial by fire approach with the wide receiver X position on practice squad, where whoever performs best in training that week will get elevated? Or do you think they already have a set order of when they'll elevate to fill that role?
I don't think they're set now. I think they're going to be a lot closer to being set by the end of the week. And in all honesty, they probably think by Tampa, they're going to probably have an idea of who they want to go with. And I don't think it's going to be like a round robin rotation, elevate a guy and see how it works. I think they're going to pick a guy and they're going to go with it. And I know there's going to be a lot of people that don't want to hear this, but it wouldn't be surprising to me to see both Tim Patrick and Allen Robinson signed to the 53, and then Isaiah Williams end up getting released to go back down to the practice squad. Isaiah Williams is a great story, and he's a jitterbug, and he does a lot of things right, but he is Khalif Raymond. That's what he is. And you already have Khalif Raymond, like the original version. And so I do think there's a way that you end up saying, boy, both those veterans are going to give us things that we want: blocking, reliability, options, and then and they end up going with those guys as kind of like wide receiver 4 and 5.
Yeah, I mean, and I think the overall point to the original question is you need someone to eventually come up on your 53. You can't like continually use each player only gets 3 elevations per year. You can't just be like, well, let's use one for you, then one for you, then one for you. It's not good for the offense. It's not good for the players. At some point, they're going to want to bring one of those guys up to the 53. It could be as early as next week. It could be as early as this week. I kind of doubt it, but they want to get to that place. They want to decide on a guy. That doesn't mean that the competition won't continue behind the scenes, because we know the Lions like to do that at every position. They did it at kicker last year. You're constantly having to prove your value in practice, on game days, all that sort of stuff. So they're not going to be afraid to go back on a decision, because that they want everyone to compete for that job. But I'm with you. Like at some point, they're going to want to make a decision and try to stick with it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. They have other options. I'm curious about what I'm with you that could certainly happen. That they sign both guys, 2 of the 3, to the 53, and that could mean losing Isaiah Williams. But we also know even if Isaiah Williams is a game day inactive, and I would not be surprised if he was, like, they don't mind carrying a guy that's just kind of a little bit of a project that they don't want to lose. He could be the offensive Stephen Gilmore this year.
Sure. I mean, look, they carried 2 projects last year. You've got 1 right now.
Yeah.
And so you might have room for another. I do think if you are going to stick with Williams, you've got to and you want him to be active because you want 5 guys. And he may, that 5th wide receiver might only get like 10, 12 snaps a game max, maybe less than 10. You got to find a spot, consistent spot on special teams for him as well. And that will be key. And if there's anything that's going to keep you from signing both those veterans, it's that if neither can play special teams, you can't keep them both, right? Like you got to have some special teams contributions out of your wide receiver depth.
That leads us perfectly into our next question from Dan Fisk, who says, how many offensive snaps does Isaiah Williams get on Sunday night? Also, will he be our kick returner?
The kick returner thing is something that I've contemplated a little bit because I do think he brings a different element to the game. And first off, I think Khalif Raymond is going to be a kick returner. And
one of them.
One of them. And if you put Isaiah Williams next to him, it would make for a very intriguing duo.
Yeah.
At the same time, based on what we've seen them, we've seen them run camp with that, with the kick return, it seems like they want a bigger body with Khalif, and so they've used like Avaki, right?
A lead blocker,
and so
right?
Yeah, and so my gut right now is it's Khalif and Vaki, but I'm not going to rule Williams out just yet as far as special teams goes. I kind of answered the other half, so I'll let you answer that.
Well, yeah, I think my answer to the other half is fully dependent on whether he is in the kick returner role or not. Because if he isn't, I think he's going to be inactive. I do. I don't know if he brings that much more special teams value, and I don't think he's necessarily going to bring the offensive value yet. I don't think he's necessarily there to be part of the offensive game plan, considering they got their top 3 guys, considering they're going to be in 12 personnel a lot, considering they're going to be in 21 personnel every now and then. I think.
Well, let me ask you. Yeah, let me clarify something real fast. Just because I want to fully understand you. Are you suggesting that they would elevate someone and then he would be inactive, or are you suggesting they would make him inactive and they roll with just 3?
No. They would have to elevate someone because they're okay. I mean, okay. They're going to have a 4th wide receiver just available, even if they have no plans for them. So, but either way, like if maybe they just keep Isaiah Williams on the 46 game day roster and he's not the kick returner, I think he just might be on the sidelines the entire game. I really do. It's not an ideal use of a 46 roster spot, but if that's what they're comfortable with because they don't see necessarily, a wide receiver X being ready to take on an offensive role and maybe not active on special teams either, then maybe it's him. I just don't think Isaiah Williams is ready for an offensive role, so it's either special teams or nothing for him in week 1.
So against the Chiefs last year, the 4th wide receiver saw 19 snaps, which was about 27%. So
was that Marvin Jones?
Not a ton. It was actually Khalif. Marvin had 56%. He was over almost at 40.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that's a different scenario with Marvin versus a rookie, a UDFA rookie for that matter. And so, yeah, I think if it's only 4, expect him to play about 25% of snaps.
All right. Let's try to squeeze one more in here before we go on a break. Reese Schoenweather asks, do you think there will be substantially more times we see Monty and Gibbs on the field together?
Substantial is a tough word to swallow for me because I don't really have a platform to a baseline to base it off of. Like they were on the field a handful of times last year, but like substantial would mean like they're going to be together like 50 times. And I don't think it's going to be substantial. Do I think it's going to be more? Yes. Do I think it's going to be double what we saw last year? I don't know. I don't know if it might even be double. Like it's going to get sprinkled in. I don't think it's going to be as pertinent as we all hope. Because I mean, every one of us alike, Lions fans, we're like we all want to see the two running backs and just let it go and see who can handle both of them. But I'm more inclined to think like you might see like a Gibbs and a Vaki go out there at the same time, and then just be like, okay, we're out in 21, and then be like, oh, just kidding, we're empty. You know what I mean?
Right. Just five wide with two running backs out there.
Yeah, and it's not like you can't do that with Monty because Monty's got terrific hands, but I don't know. I don't think it's going to be substantial. I do absolutely think it's going to be more though.
Yeah, it's interesting because I would have answered differently a month ago. Mm-hmm. We talked to Jahmyr Gibbs today in the locker room, and he said something interesting that kind of like raised my eyebrow a little bit. He was asked, hey, it's very clear the Lions went into training camp hoping you would develop your role as a receiver, but injuries have kind of set back. You haven't been on the field as much. Do you feel like you're well equipped to hit the ground running in the receiving game? And he like openly admitted like, no, I losing that time wasn't good. It definitely set me back a little bit. And I do wonder if maybe the Lions scaled back those plans a little bit early on where you might have seen Jahmyr Gibbs line up out wide, let's say 6 times a game with potentially someone in the backfield. Maybe now that's like 1 or 2 early in the season, and then they build that back up. Because I mean, you saw it yourself, right? Like in training camp, that was very clearly what they were going to be what they were at least testing out. And he was getting, they're trying to improve his route. And I think even, I don't remember who said it. Maybe Antoine Randall, maybe Scotty Montgomery, maybe even Ben Johnson said like, we're looking for him to improve his routes, no longer just out of the backfield, but lined up out wide. And so, I mean, if he's lined up out wide, then yeah, throw Monty back there and put the defense's head on a swivel. Yeah. Like, absolutely. I just think maybe those plans got put aside a little bit with him missing so much time because of his hamstring injury.
I agree with that. I do think it's going to be a little bit more subdued early, but it's not going to take long for them to just want to turn him loose completely.
All right, let's take a break. I am going to try to fix my audio issues that are hopefully only happening on stream and not for you podcast listeners at home. But when we come back, more of your Lions questions, a little bit turned towards what we think maybe will be happening Sunday night against the Rams when we come back here on the Midweek Mailbag. We'll be right back. Oops, I didn't change your Chris now too. Yeah, so sorry everybody. This was a known issue that I was hoping. Hoping what I saw was actually happening because Erik can hear me fine in both ears, but it very clearly in my streaming software shows me only coming through the left side. So, not sure why that's happening, but my mic was not getting picked up at all, which is why we were late. I had to restart my computer entirely. So, I could try to play with things a little bit here and risk making things worse, or you guys could just deal with it. I don't know. You just choose to ignore me speaking. Great. In the meantime, let me thank some subscribers while I figure out exactly what I'm going to do here. Brad in Nevada, thank you for the 21 months. Super Bowl bound, baby. Erik Schlitt, thanks for the follow.
You're welcome. I subbed. I didn't. I know. I hit the heart on accident. Didn't mean to follow. Let me unfollow. I'll take care of
Uh,
that.
Erik 8504, thank you for the 2 months subscribed to the channel. Says I'm helping. Appreciate that.
Nice.
Grasser, thank you for the follow. Light Horse 24 months says 2 years of wonderful Lions coverage. Long live the machine. Man, my I don't know if it's related, but you're also like super lagging for me, which I know everyone at home
I
is
am?
seeing. Yeah. Your video's lagging, your audio's not lagging, but
Huh.
I almost feel like that's my fault too. I don't know why. Lion's Eyed, thank you for 7 months. Subscribe to the channel. Says, what two practice squad players do you see having the largest team impact this year?
The receivers.
Both of them?
Right. Yeah. I got a feeling both of them are going to get play.
That's an interesting theory. I wonder if they will both make it up. At that point, does Donovan Peoples-Jones just go?
Oh yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
See you later.
Why is he still here?
Because he's going to get one more shot.
You think? I think it's just week 1. He's just around for week 1.
I think he's getting one more shot in week 1,
Hmm.
and he's going to have 3 targets, 1 catch for 8 yards, and then he's going to leave after that.
All right.
No.
I say Pecco, and I'm gonna pick one of the wide receivers. I'm gonna say Tim Patrick.
I would be surprised if like an Ukwu finds his way onto the roster as well, and or at least getting some elevations and stuff like that. Injuries are hard to predict, but they've got options, right? Like at a lot of spots,
For sure.
So,
LJ, thank you for the 100 bits. Says this season is so close. Jill with 100 bits throws. What is that emote? I don't think I've ever seen that before. Little eyeball emote. Woodchuck under 100 bits says, what the hell is a golden kappa? So the kappa emote is that? Did that work? Nope. Great. I don't know. It's a kappa emote except it's golden. People on Twitch really like it.
Okay.
Yeah. What kappa? I don't know. I'm not Twitch. Yeah, that's the kappa right there. Oh, you don't capitalize it like that. Oh, I got a gold one. Check that out. Ha! Mine's gold. Jealous. Did anyone else get a gold one? We were on like a Kappa hype train. If we had hit a certain level, I think everyone would have gotten one. But you guys dropped the ball.
I thought it hit. Did it? Hit?
I don't know. It has to be capital K APPA. Anyways, J-Dubs, thank you for a 3-stream streak.
Mine is.
Oh, Jill's got one. Erik then gifted a sub. Appreciate that. Not you, Erik. The other ones.
He spells his name right though, so props.
It's true. Kick Puncher 7 straight streams over here on Twitch, and then Kubismo, a first-time subscriber. Thank you so much. Appreciate y'all. We're caught up on alerts. All right. Is the audio bad enough where you guys want me to try to fix it? Because if you want, you can ask Erik a question. I'm going to mess up the video for a second and try to get it fixed while Erik answers one of your questions.
First question I saw was, why do I love the Texas route? Because it works every time. Like, it's so difficult to defend, right?
The audio, to be clear, chat, the audio is definitely not fine. If you're listening like on a TV or through a computer and not headphones, it probably sounds fine. If you have your headphones in, it definitely is not fine. I can literally see me only coming through the left side. But either way, I appreciate it. Joshua Mercer just dropped 10 gifted subs. I feel like we haven't heard that 10 gifted sub alert in a while. It oddly seems bad. There's no reason why it would be better. All right, well, we'll just continue. We'll roll with it. And if hopefully the fact that Erik can hear me in both ears means it's at least being recorded on the Zoom side in stereo. Otherwise, Chris is going to have my head. I did. Here's the thing. I think I said this already. My mic was not working at all. And so I had to restart my computer, and then it started working again. I am a little bit concerned though, because my audio box thing did drop a significant distance this morning, which also caused me to spill a lot of water on my desk. So I'm hoping that's not what the issue is. We'll see. All right, let's get some questions here. Yes, this will be available on the. This is all like okay. So this is not a Pride of Detroit direct thing. Midweek mailbag for every episode, other than the last one of the week, last one of the month will be available for everyone. They'll be available to rewatch on Twitch. They'll be available to rewatch on YouTube. Only the very last one of the month will be a Pride of Detroit direct exclusive, where we might even record it off air, where it's just you'll only see it in the newsletter if you're a subscriber. This is not company equipment, to be clear. This is personal equipment that I paid for in full.
Yeah, so I can break it if I want to.
Exactly. Are you drinking a Werner's? Asked Slappy.
Yes. Yeah, I support Michigan brands, of course.
It's beautiful.
That is the Werner's.
Definitely a tax write-off, though. Yes.
That is a whiteboard depth chart behind me, yes, with movable pieces.
Should we blur it out just like they do on like the Lions behind the scenes videos?
No. They're little magnets on the back of these little cards that I made.
Is that let me ask you, is that a 53 or is that a 69?
69.
Is there a clear delineation between the two?
No, I have to redo the numbers, because with the players changing their numbers, I have to re-up, and I try to get a bunch of them that I have to fix before I re-up. So,
oh, here's a good question from Cattle Snacks.
Tim Patrick's just written in hand.
Great question from Cattle Snacks. Who correctly predicted more players that made the initial 53-man roster?
Well, considering we had identical picks on 52 players, it came down to which long snapper made the roster, which is the most ridiculous way to split.
I was absolutely shocked that we had the exact same 53. I mean, 52 of the 53. Like,
yeah.
Usually, I mean, we have very spirited. When we do our collective 53s throughout training camp, we have some spirited conversations, and
at least three people we spend about 20 minutes talking about each.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And man, maybe we spent too much time together with all the daily camp shows that we did, but for us to come out the exact same, and I think we both did relatively well, right? I think I got 50, maybe you got 49 or something.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, it got tricky because there was the domino effect to Broderick Martin going on IR, right? And then the quarterback too.
Yeah.
But really, like on offense, they kept one more offensive lineman and one less tight end, so that was and then one less quarterback. And then on defense, it was the fallout from keeping Kaminsky and that, all that stuff. So for the most part, it was kind of as is. We had the corners right. We had the linebackers right. We had receivers right, running backs right. Like I said, just a couple of little glitches here and there. But I tried to write the article. I wrote that article after the 53 was established, without power.
Mm-hmm.
Wrote it on my computer in a Word document, and then made my phone a hotspot just to get that thing uploaded for everyone. But I try to explain it all a little bit there. I try to explain that more there, I guess.
I'm pretty sure I just fixed the audio issue, by the way. It was literally checking a box, and based on the audio levels, it should be fine now. So hopefully it's always been fine on the Zoom level, but you should be okay now. If you got headphones in, it should be better. I'm in mono now, whereas before I was in stereo. I have to figure out why it was only coming through the left side in the first place. Now it's not coming from the left.
It's a strong side. That's what they like. Left side, strong side.
Spry Guy says no longer in the left channel. Is that true? You can hear both Jeremys
more people
now.
saying.
Sounds worse. Really? Oh God.
Yeah, I have a feeling people are. Yeah.
All right.
Just.
I'm not. You know what? This is why I like YouTube chat better. You know what?
Whoa.
You know what, chat? I'm just saying. Listen.
Look.
Me and Twitch chat have been beefing ever since YouTube is doing double the numbers.
All right. Well,
we spent 5 years Twitch exclusively with you guys, and YouTube walks in this past year and is like, "Nah, we run in the joint."
Wow.
I dislike Jeremy's voice, so hearing it better sounds worse. Yikes. Twitch does donate more. That is true.
Twitch does what?
They do donate a lot more.
Oh, well. How many listeners do you or viewers do we have? I don't know.
It's actually more even today, to be fair. It's 143 on Twitch. It's 196 on YouTube.
Nice.
By the way, Tim Scott over on YouTube says my wife thinks Eric's laugh is cute.
Nice. I'm married.
So is she.
That was very kind. Thank you.
Swingers couple? Just throwing it out there. Dylan Heber, thank you for the 31 months. Says Jeremy, insert corny dad joke here. You have 10 seconds. Oh God. I'm not good with dad jokes off the cuff. Like I don't have a good enough memory for it. The only thing I'll say is in a Slack conversation, me and Ryan were going through like the kids slang these days. We were just throwing it at each other, seeing how much we could name. Obviously he knows way more than I do because he teaches kids, and so like the whole like skibbity toilet stuff. Do you know that stuff?
No. I mean, like my middle daughter is getting to the age where it's getting there, but yeah. So I kind of know like general, but I couldn't, like, if you said that to me and I don't know what you're talking about.
I still don't really know, but all I know is I ended the conversation by saying, "We've got to stop." Because
I saw that. I didn't get that. I didn't understand that either. Okay. Like I knew, I did watch a video. I don't remember what it was on, but like someone used like an anti-Riz, and I'm like, oh, I get what that is. Like, like,
and to be
that's
clear,
been around long enough that I pick up on it.
That is not anti-Jeff Risdon. That's not what anti-Riz means.
No. That's the with two Z's, right? Isn't that how it's?
I think so.
Yeah,
we are old.
Well, one of us is.
Oh, dang! We just hit 350 sub points over on Twitch because someone just dropped another 10 gifted subs. Sweaty Doofus dropped 10 gifted subs, despite my fact that I'm talking crap to Twitch. Appreciate you guys.
I don't know.
And JC 7 stream streak says watch streak tutty. That is a touchdown worth of streaks there. Audio's great in the headphones. Awesome.
There you go.
Why can't you run through a campground? Here comes a joke. What's brown and sticky? A stick. Good one. I'm waiting for the punchline, Dylan. Does Detroit win in week 1? You're going to have to wait and see our predictions. We're not going to give them out here.
We actually already did at the schedule when the schedule was released, right?
True, unless you changed it since then. Because it's past tense. Why can't you run through a campground because it's past tense?
Because you have to ran, not instead of run. It's very dad jokey. Good job.
Well, past tense. T-E-N-T-S. Tense. Campgrounds.
I got it.
Okay. All right.
Look, I speak more dad joke than I do Rizzler skibbity crap.
Actually, one of my favorite dad jokes is this one. I was going to tell you a joke about time travel, but you didn't like it.
Good one.
It's a good one. Anyways, anyone have any actual questions before we get back to the show and answer other questions? Because this is the benefit of the live viewer, is that you get to directly ask questions right now.
Does YouTube have any? I haven't checked over on YouTube.
Oh yeah, here we go.
Let me double check.
There's some.
Cool.
Thoughts on Kelly Stafford? No. Nope. Nope.
I have plenty of thoughts on Kelly Stafford, but I try to maintain a family friendly listening environment.
I'll just say this. I find it interesting that she's traveling all to Detroit to record her podcast, but not staying for the game. It's interesting. It's an interesting choice. Madden Sim on Saturday, yes. Does Goff hit 5,000 yards this season?
Ooh, I was looking at that. I was just looking at his stats. He's never hit 5, right? Obviously, and he's only been below 4 a couple of times. Notably, first year here in Detroit when there was nobody to throw at except for Amon-Ra in week 8. So I think 5 is wishful thinking considering how much this offense likes to run.
That was going to be my point.
So I'm going to say no.
Yeah, that was going to be my point, is they run the ball too much. And they're going to be playing with the lead too much.
If JMO underperforms expectations, do you think he could be on the trade block next year? That's from Tim Scott.
I mean, maybe, but not really.
I think he does. He's I mean, he does something that they want, right?
Yeah.
And if he underperforms, what's his trade value?
Right. That was going to be my other point too. Is, I mean, obviously he's a former first round pick who's got 4.3 speed. Someone is going to want at least a taste of that. But if he hasn't performed well, you're talking about a 6th round pick tops. And is that worth trading away for? He'd have to seriously underperform.
Jake Bates' concern level?
6.5 out of 10.
Concerned at all.
What?
All right. I said they're not concerned at
They
all.
apparently aren't concerned at all. Listen. I've said this a couple times now. Like, I've been pretty aggressive, admittedly, in saying that they really could use some help, and Brad Holmes apparently also agrees that they could use some help because he said they're thinking about bringing a veteran kicker on the practice squad. They haven't done it yet, but they're thinking about it. Maybe that's another week 2 thing where once all the roster things shake out.
Sure.
But I'm willing to at least concede, especially because we never really talk about this, that a kicker can develop. Particularly in a unique case like Jake Bates, where he hasn't kicked a lot at a professional level, at a college level, at a high school level.
Hey, man, everybody can change.
But I think it's going to
suck. Slick back hair and all.
I think it's going to suck in the first month. I do. Like, I think he's going to miss some easy kicks, and it's going to be frustrating. I don't know if it's going to lose the Lions a game or not, but it's going to be frustrating in the moment. So, short term, I would say like a 7 or 8 concern level. Long term, maybe like a 5. So, even that out, 6.5. What about you?
I'm lower. I'm like in a 4 range, maybe.
Is that because of
Like, I
Jake
don't think
Bates,
they're
or
gonna
is that because you're just not that concerned about the kicking game?
a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
Okay.
I also think like
Special teams don't matter to you. Got it.
they're not no, but they're not gonna put him in spots that are. Just don't think they're gonna put him in a lot of spots. I think they're gonna go for it like they always do. I think they're gonna like
Yeah.
he seems to be more efficient when the pressure's on, as opposed to the misses from short distance are just like middle of the game, middle of practice, like where maybe his concentration is lapsing. Like, and I don't think they're gonna put him in that many spots like that. So I'm not
All of his extra points are going to be like that, though. Just middle of the game. We're going to be scoring. I mean, they're not going to score in the third quarter, obviously, because it's the third quarter.
Dave Phipp needs to, I don't know.
Just give him some smelling salts in the middle of at the end of the first quarter.
Yeah, Dave's crazy, man. So let him come up with a cool plan.
Does Bates hit a 60-yarder this season?
Oh, yes.
It's gonna have to be. It's gonna have to be like a 4th and 15 situation. Because if it's 4th and 2 from the 45-yard line, they're going for it.
It's going to be an at the half situation. It's going to be, we're not close enough to throw a Hail Mary that we like. Let's just set up for a 60-yarder at the half, see if he can hit it, and he's going to hit it. That's what's going to happen.
All right. Jason, thank you for the 17 months. Subscribe to the channel. Says go Loins. Go Loins.
Austin Pinks says, Jeff Risen says Hutch is getting the better of Sewell at training camp. Erik says Sewell's dominating. What gives? I'm very confident in in my analysis. I'm not trying to disparage Jeff or anybody else that goes against what I say. I feel confident standing on what I say. I think Hutchinson is awfully impressive, and I think he's going to be really good. And there are definitely times that he got the better of Sewell. At the same time, Sewell's the best offensive lineman in the NFL. Like, he's going to win more than he loses just because that's who he is. So look, they get what, like 40, 30 pass rushes a game. And if they get like 2 sacks, we're like, whoa, what a great game. 2 sacks. But the offensive linemen, they win like 98% of them. And they give up 1 sack. And we're like, oh, that offensive lineman. He's going to win more than he loses always. And it doesn't matter who's up across from him. Sewell is going to get the better of that person. So again, nothing against Jeff. And there's plenty of people that disagree with me. Look, Jeremy disagreed with me and he got it right with the long snapper. So kudos to you, Mr. Special Teams. But I'm fine. I'm very comfortable with my stance on Sewell. There you go. It's backwards, but okay.
People can
I will go down if that's the ship I go down on. I am comfortable going down on that ship because I think he's going to be a joy for the next 2 decades.
Training camp is an interesting time of year because you have 10 reporters all reporting on the exact same thing.
And we catch things at different times. And
there are going to be differences in coverage. And a lot of fans will understandably say, like, hey, this guy said that like the defense was good this day, and you said the defense was bad this day, and what gives? And I think all it takes is 1 day of you being out there and actually watching training camp yourself from the stands to realize there's a million things going on at once, and 2 people watching the exact same play may see 2 completely different things, particularly without the benefit of replay, particularly depending on, are you watching the wide receivers versus the quarterbacks? Or are you watching the offensive line versus the defensive line? Or are you watching the quarterback? There's so many different things that are happening at one time that we need to allow for not only there being some variance between reporters, but just being general variance between everybody, because sometimes you'll see something and you'll have it wrong. Like, I think both you and I operate with the fact of, if we don't know for sure, we're not going to report on it. But like, sometimes things slip, right? Like, you had a number down and it was actually, 29 instead of 28 or something.
Well, look, I'll give you another example. The first time they went OLDL one-on-ones and pads, a whole bunch of us gravitated over to watch them.
Right.
And I was standing there.
Yep.
I was standing there with like 4 or 5 other people, and I saw the rep and I said, "Oh, Sewell got the better of him." And the person directly to my right said, "I think Hutch might have got that one with the bend." And the other 4 people all agreed with him. And I thought, there's no way. And so I walked over to the other group and went right up to the person that I trust the most on OL. And I said, "Did you have Sewell winning that rep?" And he said, "Oh, absolutely. Not a chance. He lost that rep." And then so, like,
it's subjective.
Just, we're all in the same area. And like, I saw it one way and the 4 people next to me saw it the exact opposite. And the guy over to my left saw it the way I saw it. And like, that's how it goes.
Yeah.
And
to an extreme, it's like that meme that the Giants fan keeps posting every single year of Penei Sewell clearly winning a rep, or maybe it was even Taylor Decker winning a rep against Kayvon Thibodeau, right? And he captions it, "Watch Kayvon Thibodeau dominate Penei Sewell." And like, he knows the clip doesn't look like that. He's just trying to get a rise out of Lions fans. That's an extreme example, but a lot of times there will be one-on-one reps that you like see the Giants media post and be like, "Wow, look at so-and-so, Brian Burns, absolutely take it to Taylor Decker." And a Lions fan will watch the same clip and be like, "Taylor Decker set his base. Like, he was fine." It's all about perspective.
And it's also like, there's no one to actually, like, you can't finish the play, right? Because it's just one-on-ones.
Right.
And so there's no definitive right answer. Like, I also think, and again, this isn't Risen, this is just me speaking in general. There's a lot of people that don't always know what to look for at different positions.
Yep.
For long snapper, I can tell the difference between, gosh, what's
Don Muhlbach.
What was the? No, not Muhlbach. The guy they drafted versus Muhlbach.
Oh,
Jimmy Landis.
Landis.
When Jimmy Landis and Don Muhlbach snapped the ball, it was clear to anyone that Don Muhlbach was the winner and Landis had no chance. It's not like that. And and if you don't know the nuances of what to look for, like, I'm not Dave Phipp. I don't have a stopwatch on the snaps. Like, I don't know exactly, like, it's hard to ascertain which long snapper is ahead. And so, that seems to be a position that's difficult for me.
Sure.
But there's other positions I feel like I know very well that I think maybe others don't. And so we all have different strengths and weaknesses on things that make sense to us. And so that leads into the variance of opinions as well.
A couple good questions here.
No beat Raider combine this year.
There was no beat Raider combine this year.
Too many late changes to the schedules and off
beat Raiders
stuff, all kinds of weird stuff. Olympics, like that, a whole bunch of stuff played into that this year.
Yeah. So until further notice, it is the Reisman recording room for another year. 100 bits from J Russ says, Dan Campbell's Applebee's or Andy Reid's Chicken Nuggies?
Oh, that's good. They're both funny. Like, I like coaches that can allow themselves to look a little foolish. Like,
right?
It's not that big of a deal. Like, that's fun. It humanizes them.
I honestly didn't know that Dan Campbell had that in him a little bit, to look a little silly. Not that he seems like a self-conscious type or anything like that. He's very much himself, unapologetically, in a very good way. But And he acted well too. Like he nailed that. He nailed the role. I thought it was a funny concept. I thought he did well. So I'm gonna pick Dan Campbell because I'm a Dan Campbell homer.
I felt like the Nuggets thing was a little like almost like
fat jokey.
No. I wasn't gonna say that. Jeez.
But I mean, that's where, but no, I think
I meant like.
But isn't that kind of what they're going for a little bit?
It was almost like
fat coach
it was
asking
almost,
for more nuggies.
Yeah, okay, it was almost Tommy Boyish, right? Like you were trying to be like, right. But whereas the Dan, I felt like leaned more into the, like he's this, so serious head coach and right, and that was good. It was a good it's a good look for him. I hope it doesn't turn into like a bad meme or something.
No, I don't think it will. I think Dan Campbell is beloved enough not only locally but nationally that no one is going to meme that in a negative way. I
agree. I think there's.
How can you not like Dan Campbell? Show me a single person that doesn't like Dan Campbell outside of maybe Tyrell Crosby.
People in Green Bay, Chicago.
No, only Tyrell Crosby.
Oh, poor Tyrell. He changed his. I thought he changed. Like he started pointing towards the doctors more and
maybe he did.
The situation. I don't know.
I'm not trying to throw Tyrell Crosby under the bus.
Yeah. I like Tyrell.
I do.
I do think it. Yeah, I do think there was a disconnect there.
Yeah.
And that happens in any relationship, right?
And here's the thing, like I think if you really, talked directly to a Vikings, Bears, or Packers fans, they would say, "I hate the frickin' Lions right now, but I like Dan Campbell. That dude's pretty cool."
I think the people who don't like him haven't watched him or really don't know what he's about, right? They're still stuck on that. So many people get first impressions and then they stick with that, right? Like quarterbacks are such a prime example.
Is a fantastic example.
100%, right? Like people watch, like especially draft analysts are the worst at this, right? They just are. They evaluate a quarterback coming out, and this is what they think of this guy, and this is how this guy stays, right? And so, like, I thought Josh Allen might have changed the narrative on people's thinkings because Josh Allen was horribly inaccurate and in college, and then 3 years in he's top 5 quarterback and he's changed his accuracy and there's so much more but it's people get these narratives stuck in their head and it's tough for them to change off of it.
Jay-Z on YouTube says, I heard a pundit today talk about how he's done a complete 180 on Dan. Thought he was a joke, then realized the players had bought in completely, and now they are Dan.
Nice.
Yeah. Listen, I think all of us maybe did that at least a little bit. I would say I kind of lost the meathead feeling during the opening press conference because, again, like from a Lions point of view, I don't think necessarily the headline of that press conference was kneecaps and whatever. I think it was, you guys don't want to hear me say the same old shit. Like, I think he literally said something like that. And that was like, oh, I've been woken up. And I still say, like, the point where I really started to turn on Dan Campbell is like, oh, he isn't this guy who I thought he was, that, the Miami radio station has a theme song for Dan Campbell that's just like, yeah, Dan Campbell. It was very early. It was the intro video of him that the Lions put together of him touring the facility and him like coming to tears when he's literally stepping on the practice field he stepped on as a player 14 years before or whatever it was. Like that, I'm like, oh, this dude is like emotionally intelligent. This dude is way deeper than I think what he's getting credit for nationally. And turns out, he was someone that just was only surface level understood by people probably outside of Miami. I'm sure people inside of Miami knew this all along. In fact, we had talked to a couple people who were like, you guys are going to love Dan Campbell, and not just because he's a rah-rah type.
Yeah, the big thing I kept hearing was he's connections all over the NFL. Like, and they're like, he's going to assemble a great staff. And I'm like, all right, well, we'll see, you know?
Yeah.
And then, yeah, now
Listen,
look where we are.
We both have only been on the beat for 2 regimes. And so I can't speak to a lot of experience. On the beat, yeah. But I will say that I get excited for Dan Campbell to take the podium every single day. Every single day. Like I'm just excited to hear him talk. And not necessarily because I'm expecting to get some sort of information I need, just because he is a very interesting guy to listen to talk. He's very affable. He's very funny. He'll respect you. I can freely ask a question without fear of him demeaning me in any sort of way. And listen, there are coaches on the staff that do that, and it comes with the territory, but it's so refreshing to just have a guy understand how this is part of the business, that he doesn't have to love a question, right? He doesn't have to think it's a smart question. He might think it's a dumb question. He might even think it's a slightly disrespectful question, but he's going to answer it the same every time. He's going to give it a thorough answer, or he's going to tell you, listen, I respect the question. I know why you're asking it, but I'm not going to answer it. Like that. Like I said, I only have one other regime to compare that to, but I think we've all seen enough clips from other coaches to realize that is not a universal thing. I'm sure a lot of you saw the Sean McVay clip from last week where he literally said, like, that's a dumbass question, right? He said something like that.
Well, more or less.
Yeah.
And then he literally laughed at him.
Yeah.
And was like, what are we doing here? Like, I don't know. And then Jordan is trying to ask her question.
Yeah.
Jordan, who's one of the best in the business.
Yep.
And he is like, and he cuts her off to make another snippy comment. And
let's hurry this up.
Yeah. Look, I quote tweeted that and said, this is the McVay that Goff knew. And I was getting like likes and retweets like 3 and 4 days later, like from that tweet. Like people, that tweet just went crazy because like he looks foolish in it. Like I get we all are frustrated, but can get frustrated at times. But was not a great look.
And to me, it tells a lot about a person. That they would
because
publicly
he has to know,
snip at someone like that. Like I get angry and I yell on the show sometimes, but in the appropriate realm, I like to think I can handle myself in front of a crowd, in the middle of a press conference, whatever.
And it's not like he couldn't have known that this was coming, right? Like you just traded away your team captain and starting Mike linebacker, the only linebacker you have on your roster that was drafted. And like,
yeah,
how are you? I don't know.
Anyways, all that to say is Dan Campbell is a rare breath of fresh air, and we are absolutely blessed to have him, even for as long as we've already had him. To have him for 3 years, it's been amazing. I have so few complaints about Dan Campbell as a person, as a football coach, as a game manager, like all that stuff. I couldn't be I mean, we just talked about this on the podcast. Like, whether he's the best coach in the NFL or not is a debate that you can have. Whether he's the guy I want coaching this team, there's no debate. I don't want anyone else right now.
I think it transcends too. Like, I know Ben Johnson got some slack for turning down the Washington job and stuff.
Yeah.
But like, I really think Ben he models a lot of like what Dan does. Like he's a very nice guy who will stop for you if you know what I mean. Like he's personable. He can joke. He's still a little like he's still getting used to it. He's not as he doesn't have as much charisma, I guess, as Dan does, but he's still
Riz?
very is God. Okay. Okay. My story's over.
No, he's got a little bit more of an edge to him. There's no doubt about it, and particularly when he's on the field, like he'll lay into guys on the field.
Yeah, but okay, family day.
Mm-hmm.
He's playing with his kids. He's got one little one that's just like at the age of like walking, right? And so a year ago, after his wife had just delivered, he was talking about like how it was hard. And he has 3 kids. I have 3 kids. And so I'm like, okay. I'm like I stop him. I'm talking about his kids. I'm asking like, hey, you sleeping, like how hard is it? It's got to be hard on your wife that you're, blah, blah, blah. So now a year passes and we're talking about our kids on the Lions logo and stuff. But like, he's like walking past me and then I just casually am like, looks like your kid's, close to walking. And like, he stops and like lights up, man.
Yeah.
And he's like a good person. You know what I mean? Like, and he took the time and he's talking to me about his kid and he's like, he's close. And then, then I'm like, he asked about like where I'm at in this. And then we talked for like a couple minutes and we didn't talk about football at all, but like, he took 4 or 5 minutes out of his day and just like, you don't do that. There's a lot of coaches that won't do that, I guess is what I should say.
Well,
right.
A lot of people look at the media as an adversary. I mean, not even as humans, right? They're just guys there to write trash about them in the newspapers.
Right. And I don't perceive Ben as having that mentality, right? So
he's also he can be very playful in press conferences too. Like I can't say for certain when he was asked a question about a flea flicker and then he says everybody loves flea flickers, right? And then looks in my general direction that he knew, but I'm pretty sure he knew. And like I also asked him.
Oh, they know.
I think they do. I think I also asked him
100% no.
What game was it? Maybe the Chargers game where it was a 3rd and 8 and they ran the ball and it succeeded. And I asked him I just asked him about making that call, and he's like, "You like that play call?" And then he's like, "You like the result of it, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, I kind of like the result more than I like the play call." He can be playful. Anyway,
yeah. Well, look.
All that to say, we love this coaching staff.
The one time he walks up to the media this year, he walks up to the giant podium, and the first thing out of his mouth is. His first thing out of his mouth is, "Oh, poor AG," right? Who then did not meet with the press in front of the podium.
That his next media availability, where it would have normally taken inside behind the podium, he took us all outside. And listen, he's due up again on Thursday. That podium is still where it's always been. There's no. At some point, winter is going to come. Is he going to drag us all out in 30-degree weather to avoid standing behind that podium?
Yeah, he'll just do it. He'll do it under the TV, right by that pole or the pillar by the TV. He'll have everyone come over and then he'll stand up against that wall.
Me and AG are cool now. All right. I asked him about the Sam linebacker position. He's like, "Oh, I'm glad you asked that question. Let me talk about Derek Barnes. That player is really good." I love when he just refers to people as that player. Does it all the time. Lectern. Sorry. Before anyone comes in here and corrects us. Lectern, not podium.
We asked if they were going to make him a stool and a step.
Phone books.
they said they might.
I had the phone books.
I stood out there. I stood behind it. Yeah, I didn't want my picture taken next to that thing. Because it looks normal for Dan Campbell, but he is huge.
He is huge.
He's a huge man.
So going back to I'm very curious if this is going to happen tomorrow or not, because going back to what I think started this entire conversation, which was the Dan Campbell Applebee's commercial. I turned to Justin and I said, dude, I dare you tomorrow, first question of the press conference, ask it like this. And I think he's going to, but I'm not sure. I said I'm giving him $1. And then Jen Hammond said she'll throw in an extra $4. So we'll see. Oh, I've stood behind the podium. There is a picture of me behind the podium out there in the ether.
There's a couple pictures out there that are not flattering.
Yeah.
Of people.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. I'll leave it at that.
Right. Long story short, on the Beat Writers Combine, it was supposed to be held the final day of OTAs, like it normally is. But on that day, let's see. I think Dave was already...
No, hold on. You got to pause. The day it was supposed to be held was the day they had to forfeit.
No.
Remember? Yeah, it was the Monday that they had to forfeit, and then they delayed when they said, okay, now we have to push the media access day to the next day, and then on that day, not half the beat writers were already gone doing their different things.
You're right.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah,
you're right.
So
yeah, because a lot of beat writers plan their vacations immediately after that last day. So a couple were already gone.
Dave was going in Europe.
Yeah, it was in Europe. Dave was already at the Olympics. Yeah. Tim was dealing with a torn labrum or something in his shoulder. Basically, there was half of the attendance they were expecting, and they came up to me as like, most people don't want to do it. Is that okay?
I was supposed to go to that Monday, and then I had my kids because my wife had to go to work, and then I couldn't make it out to that one either. So like it was a whole bunch of people. Yeah, just did not work.
Madi Tuati says, Eric, how many gifted subs for you to release the picture of Jeremy behind a podium? Eric doesn't have it. It's actually already been tweeted.
Oh,
by an account that I'm not going to disclose.
I would just check Justin's feed.
It's not Justin's feed.
But, well, I would check Colton's feed.
I'm not going to confirm or deny anymore. I'm not going to let you process of elimination this. Yeah. So I mean, listen, what are we at right now? 355 sub points. If we get to 450 this stream, that's a lot. I admit, a ton.
Jesus, 450.
Then I'll show you where it's at.
Someone's going to find it and just put the link in the chat. And
it's possible. It's very possible.
Yeah.
All right. I think we're ready to get back to the show. Let me get through. There are a couple more alerts too, or just one more. Le Mans Builder, thank you for the 19 months. It's happy to have you two back together for this historic run. Appreciate that. I can't tell you how excited we both are. It's been a while, I think, since we've both been as on board. I mean, listen, we don't need to shy away from it. Super Bowl expectations are real, and I think anything less would be a disappointment. That doesn't mean it's necessarily a failure of a season or whatever, but I think if the Lions don't make the Super Bowl, it's a disappointment this year, which means we kind of expect to get them there. Expect them to get there.
Well, I tell you what, we're going to have predictions coming out on we've done what have we done? We've done offensive MVP, defensive MVP so far.
Tomorrow is breakout. After that is the NFC North champion selections. Friday will be record prediction and how far in the playoffs we think they're going to go. Saturday is going to be Super Bowl predictions.
I have my Reacts question coming out tomorrow. That's about NFC North. Wonder if we should flip those articles, breakout player, NFC North.
We could.
Something to think about. And just go NFC North day.
Are either of you two going to an away game, either personal or for POD?
What up, Brett?
I'm probably going to go to Indianapolis. since it's drivable.
Mm.
I kind of also want to go to Dallas. I have all this Delta credit from my canceled trip to joint practices, so got to use that up in the next calendar year as well. Maybe I just save that for the Super Bowl.
I'm planning on saving my money for the playoffs this year, and
You won't have to travel at all for the playoffs until the Super Bowl.
maybe yeah. Well, one or the other. And then in my prediction, you'll see I have them traveling for the NFC Championship
What?
game.
Not a 1 seed?
No, I gave them a 2.
I mean, I have them at 11-5, so they probably wouldn't be a 1 seed or 11-6.
The predictions that we make when the schedule comes out, I stick with those. Though I stick with them the whole way. And my prediction was 13-4 in the number 2 seed. And I have nailed the last 2 seasons at schedule release. So I'm sticking with it. Yeah. So, but honestly, I'm also saving my money up though for future trips to Europe.
Ooh,
That's really
a little Germany
what I
trip
mean.
next year or the year after?
I think my guess, and I could be speculating.
2026 because they don't have a home game next year.
I'm guessing I wouldn't be surprised if we go to London next year and then Germany the year after. That's my guess.
Oh, back to back.
I'm just I'm spitballing.
Have you been to Europe?
Yeah, when I was a kid, when I was like a teenager, I went with my buddy and his family who was from England, and we went to England and Spain over on a little like month-long trip.
Nice.
And it was very cool. Like I went with his family, so I was just kind of tagging along, but it was a cool experience to get to go to. But my wife is very adamant about taking my children and going over for the whole week.
Oh boy,
leading up to
the Schlitz game. Take Europe.
It'd be like, yes, it would be. And then like, I have some family members that are interested in going as well. But yeah, Laura is very much. If it's in like, she really wants to do the Germany one, but if it's in England, she might be even more inclined because we have close friends that live in Ireland, so not too far, and so we'll see. But yeah, that's a lot of my travel budget is going to be for that coming up. Already planning now.
Dang, I love it.
Well, it's 5 people, so
that is a lot. It's a lot of peoples. All right,
it is.
Let's get back to the regular show.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we'll hang out a little bit after we're done with recording this final segment too. So if you guys have some burning questions or I didn't answer your question that you threw in the chat, just hold on to it. And once we're done here, I will try. You can throw it back in the chat and we'll get to it. All right. Where were we? We just finished the first page, right? Is that it? Yeah. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4. We can take 4. That'll be fun. All right, here we go. Welcome back to First Bite, Week 1 edition as we prepare for Lions versus Rams Sunday Night Football, NBC, Ford Field. Going to be a good time. Before we get to some questions about that game, I have one more that's more about the season in full, and this focus is more on the NFC North. It comes from Mr. _Tony Chaos, who asks, how do you feel about all the Green Bay and Chicago hype this offseason? What concerns do you have for Detroit against these divisional opponents?
I think Green Bay is going to be the biggest threat. It's something that I've kind of stuck with for most of the offseason. I think what they did at the end of last season was impressive. They're also a young team though, and so I tend to think that they are a little bit more susceptible. So I do think Green Bay is somebody to keep eyes on, of course. I'm not as worried about Chicago. They have talent, that's for certain. But I don't like the coaching staff. I don't think the coaching staff is up to par. they seem ready to implode, and inevitably they seem to implode. And so, new coaching staff, maybe I'm a little bit more afraid of Chicago, but I think until they make that transition to a different regime, you're probably, and look, the polls can stay there, like the GM can stay there, like, and that's fine. I mean, but the coaching staff themselves, they always seem to be,
Yeah.
finding ways to put themselves in bad spots. So I'm not as worried about Chicago. Chicago gets a lot of the hype because they had two top 10 picks, including the number one pick, but like they they didn't do a whole lot to build their team beyond those two players. And so, I mean, look, they had good free agency that they can spend, but I'm talking about like
Yeah.
to build their organization long term. They had those two guys, and that was about it. Other than that, they're just adding talent. And when you're adding talent with a coaching staff that isn't up to snuff, I'm not as worried about them.
Yeah, with the Bears, I'm with you. I don't love the coaching staff. I think it's the worst coaching staff in the division, but granted, I kind of like all of the head coaches, all the other head coaches in the division, I think are very talented. I think they've got a very good roster and a very good future ahead of them. I think they've done the smart thing in putting Caleb Williams in as best of position as they possibly could in a short amount of time. They've invested in the offensive line. They've invested in weapons. They brought in a new offensive coordinator. But all that is going to take time. I don't care how many awesome weapons he has. I don't care how many, how good of a rookie season he has. It is extremely rare for a rookie quarterback to hit the ground running, and I just don't think it's necessarily going to happen right away for Chicago. Defensively, they were really, really good towards the end of the last season, but they still have questions on the defensive front. They still don't have a great defensive line. They still have questions on the offensive line. They're starting to build it in the right direction, but it's hard for me to put a lot of trust and have a lot of fear for a team that has questions on both sides of the trenches. You don't win a lot of football games against good teams with those problems. And so I'm with you. I'm not that scared of the Bears, even though they took it to the Lions in the second matchup last year, and they really took it to the Lions in the first three quarters of the first matchup too. It's not going to be easy, mind you, but the Lions are the better team, and I think clearly so. The Packers also, I think, have almost as many questions. Their defensive roster is okay. To me, they didn't get that much better this offseason, if at all. Their offensive line is going to have at least one new starter. Their left tackle, I mean, I'd say that they lost David Bakhtiari, but they really haven't had David Bakhtiari for a couple of years now. So there's offensive line questions. There's certainly wide receiver questions. I know they have a bunch of young potential, but it's just potential at this point. And even their quarterback isn't proven. And then defensively, every Packers fan is just hanging their hopes on the fact that changing their defensive coordinator fixes everything. Again, new defensive coordinator. There's going to be some time to build there too. It's not going to all come together right away. So I think they have a better roster than the Bears. I think their roster is still short of what the Lions are significantly. And the wide receivers will give the Lions secondary a test, no doubt. Really, every team in the division has wide receivers that are going to test the Lions' corners. And that's a big question remaining on the Lions side. But to me, there are just so many more questions about literally every other team in the division that I'd say my concern level overall for every team is like a 6 out of 10. Like it's a better division than it was the year before. And the Bears and the Packers were both playing really, really good football towards the end of last season. But that does, as we talked to Aaron Schatz earlier in the offseason on Pride of Detroit Direct, and he said, listen, just because you finished a season well does not mean that carries over. And in fact, often,
Sure.
maybe more often than not, it doesn't carry over. So I am not taking it as a given fact that, Jordan Love is a really, really good quarterback. I'm not taking it as a fact that the Chicago Bears defense is going to be elite this season. They need to show me it all over again, and I'm not sure they will.
I like Green Bay's core quite a bit, but I also think, excuse me, they got rid of their best player, and it's Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones took over that San Francisco game and gave them a shot to win in the playoffs. Like, I get that Josh Jacobs is a rushing leader from the year prior, and like he's He's got some talent, but like Aaron Jones could do so much. Like he was a very much a complete back, and I think he was such an invaluable weapon. Moving they, excuse me, they discarded him so offhandedly. I
They bungled that
that,
situation.
that
They really did.
that's the kind of stuff where karma comes back and gets you.
All right, let's move from the NFC North to the NFC and talk about Lions, Rams coming up. Interesting question here about kind of personnel. Ross Ginter asked, with the Rams playing almost exclusively in 11 personnel in the past, what role will Derek Barnes play this week, and who starts at nickel?
It's a great question about Derek Barnes because I do think that they're going to want to keep him involved.
Yep.
At the same time, I expect a lot of nickel, like a ton of nickel. And they used 100% of nickel last time they played them, right? And so I don't think it's going to be that drastic. I still think there's going to be a lot of nickel. And my guess is it's going to be Amik Robertson that gets the start. And I think you're gonna, especially with injuries to Iffy and stuff, right? Like I think you're gonna want to keep Branch in that spot where you're keeping him back. You can shift single high and drop him in the slot, and you can still do all those fun things that you want to do to get him into positions. But um, I'm guessing it's going to be more like an 80-20 or maybe a 75-25 between leaning, with the majority being nickel and then, but you're still going to see base probably 20-25% of the time. That's my speculation.
Yeah, no, it definitely seems like based on what we saw at camp, they want to try out the Sam linebacker position more. They want to play a little bit less nickel than they have in the past.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, a lot of times the offense is going to dictate your own personnel out there. And yeah, the Rams certainly love to be in 11 personnel a ton. At the same time, they can run the football. It's not something they shy like this. Dan Campbell talked about this on Monday, where this is not the same Rams offense that we've seen, back when Jared Goff was there, where they were just this spread air raid offense where they're just throwing the ball a ton. They're not running the ball too much because they're just not interested. They just want to throw. That's not who they are anymore. I think the Jared Goff era kind of taught them they need to be a little bit more diverse. They need to be a little bit more balanced. They need a little bit more downhill running. And so the Lions kind of want to be in that 5-man front or the 4-3 or whatever you want to call it. So I don't know. It's a give and take. It's a push and a pull, but I'm with you. I think we're going to see, I would say a quarter of the time. I think that makes sense of them kind of in that more base defense than just nickel all the time. And you're absolutely right about who's going to be playing nickel, because the answer may have been different if he was healthy. But at this point, I think they're committed to Branch at safety, and they don't have much of a choice given their safety. Like, they don't want Brandon Joseph out there, I don't think.
Yeah, and I also think that one of the reasons they shifted to bring in more of this cornerback in the slot type of role as opposed to like a safety in the slot was because of teams like the Rams, who will spread you out, who do have a weapon that requires a corner level of coverage as opposed to a safety level of coverage, right?
Yep.
And so, yeah, I think this game one is you're going to see a lot of a Meek.
All right. Question from our friend Between the Numbers, Anthony, asks, with the Rams' less experienced linebacker group having parted ways with Ernest Jones, how many Texas routes are we going to see from Gibbs? And follow up, obviously, they could choose to run more zone. This being the Rams defense could run a little more zone as a result. But the point is, how big of a weakness versus strength mismatch is this going to be?
I think Texas is a weakness, is a matchup that heavily favors the offense all the time.
Right, but it's almost crazy
what.
to think about that their Mike linebacker, they trade away the week before they play a team that loves to attack the middle more than any other team in the league.
It's interesting because they kind of switched to a base 3-3-5 this year, right? And they went away from their 4-man front. They go to this 3-3-5 look. They will still do 4-man fronts, and I think we'll see more 4-man fronts against the Lions because the Lions like to run. But if they come out in like a 3-3, and that Mike is one of their UDFAs that they've been developing for a couple of years, that's a tough spot
Yeah.
to put that guy in. And I fully expect some pin and pull. I expect some gap concepts, and just to try and get him one-on-one with one of the big boys blocking him. And then when you drop him in coverage, absolutely run somebody over the middle right at him. Just Gibbs or St. Brown or Khalif. My good luck covering Khalif in that situation, right? But I'm going to run somebody right at him and try and make him adjust, and good luck. It's a weakness of this roster, this Rams defense, I think, in that middle. And the Lions have a history of being able to exploit teams that are weak over the middle. And
just
so
run 100% play action. Like have these linebackers' heads in a freaking tizzy, because you run the ball as successful as the Lions have. You've become this team that has now become synonymous on 3rd and long, being like, listen, y'all don't know what we're gonna do. We could potentially go for it on 4th and down. So are we gonna run it on 3rd and long? Maybe get into a 4th and manageable, and then you got their heads spinning, man. And having a young, inexperienced linebacking core, Ben Johnson has got to be licking his lips.
I think when it's all said and done, they connect on 3 Texas routes, 2 of them in the red zone.
Wow.
And if it were me, I would call double that. Maybe more.
Well, you love the Texas routes.
I
mean, who doesn't? I love the wheel route. Wheel route.
Run that
better.
too. Run it.
Absolutely.
Run it.
Especially if you get a linebacker on Gibbs, boom, he's gonna beat that linebacker down the field for 30-yard gain at least.
I would make 5 plays for Vaki. 5. Okay, that's it.
We're bringing Vaki into the offense.
Because Gibbs is still coming back, right? We're talking about him still coming back off injury, and so I would take 5 snaps that I would normally have for Gibbs, take them out, and then be like, Vaki, these are your 5 offensive snaps, and one of them is going to be a wheel, and 2 of them are going to be Texas routes, and then you run an off tackle up the like a zone gap where he can cut back into the middle, like. Okay. And I try and get him involved.
Let me ask you that question, because I think someone asked this, and I didn't put it on our list. Someone asked, first of all, who you think has more receptions this year, Vaki or David Montgomery?
Ooh.
I believe Montgomery had like 19 or something around that number last year, which was a career low for him.
Yeah. I think Montgomery, because of proximity to volume, right? Like he's just going to have so many more opportunities. And he is, a career low of 19 shows you he should probably be catching between 25 and 30 at least.
Yeah.
I think catching 20 passes for Vaki as a rookie would be a bit much. I'd run him on a lot of routes, but I don't think he's necessarily going to be the guy that's going to be the primary option. Even though he's so fun. He's fun.
I'm with you. I'm trying to scale back your expectations for Vaki, I think, because you seem like you have, but I'm with you there, obviously. Mm-hmm. My follow-up is, do you think he sees I know what you want. Do you think he actually sees any any offensive snaps?
5 snaps.
You think
5.
You think he'll see 5?
I think he's going to get 5 snaps, and they're going to hand him off the ball twice. So. They're going to run him on 3 routes. No. They may not even throw him the ball.
So is he essentially RB3 then?
I think you can use him as like a specialist, because his hands are nuts. Yeah. Especially because Gibbs. Look, if Gibbs wasn't coming off an injury, I'd say 0. But because Gibbs is coming off an injury, I'm going to say 5.
I think they were being extra cautious with Gibbs.
100% they were.
I think they're just not ready to put that on Vaki's plate. I think it's too early.
5.
It's
You want me to go down to 4? 4?
No, 0. I don't think he's going to see an offensive snap this on Sunday.
Okay. I'll take the over.
All
I'll take
right.
the over on that 0.
I'm just saying they like to take their rookie slow. They have 3 very capable guys ahead of him, including a Gibbs player who we think is going to have a potential breakout season.
This is what I want. When Vaki comes out onto the field and you see him come out, I want you to slow turn to your right and just tap me very politely on the shoulder. And then if he doesn't, I'll stand up and shake your hand at the end of the game. But
We'll see.
I'm expecting
We'll
him
see.
to get something.
I'm with you that he's eventually going to be in that role. I just think they like to take rookie slow.
Yeah,
and he
100%.
lost a significant chunk of training camp as well.
No, what?
He lost it. Yeah.
I mean,
He had a shoulder injury, remember?
Oh no, he missed like a practice or 2, right? Like he was fine. He was fine. No worries.
All right.
I
This is your chance to get revenge on the 53-man roster prediction loss.
Oh yeah. I will
There
be
you go.
vindicated.
Maybe we'll do this
I will
every week.
vindicated.
We'll have like a little
Vindicated.
mini. You take this bet. We'll take that bet. All right. Before we get out of there, we got one more question here from Jason Mott. It says, the Lions again go against good passing attacks in the first few games. When do you think the new secondary will gel, and when should we raise the alarm if they don't? This has kind of been an issue that I've raised a couple times, and I'm trying. I'm hoping I'm not causing people to panic, but my overall point being that this secondary has been injured a lot of the offseason. They haven't gotten a lot of time on task, and so the chemistry might not be there right away, particularly when your 3 of your first home games or 3 of your first games are at home, and it's going to be extremely loud when you're out there on the field.
I'm more worried in week 1 than I am in week 2, obviously.
Yeah, sure.
You know, but I don't think it's going to take them terribly long. Because Amik has been running in the slot all of camp.
Yeah.
Carlton is a veteran, and I don't expect him to miss much. Branch has been back for a little while now, even though he's been taking things slow off and on. They're being very cautious with him as well. And it's really Terrion that you want to make sure you get up to speed. But like Terrion has that it factor, right?
Sure.
Like he has that, he has that ability to pick things up very quickly, and he doesn't let things bother him, and he has all the confidence in the world. Let's also keep in mind that he played 3 years at Alabama in a pro style system, so it's not unfamiliar to him to play this style of defense. So from a readiness standpoint, physically, I expect all of them to be ready. It's really when you have to communicate, like passing guys off and stuff like that. But I think the majority of that will be done on the interior, which is going to be Kirby, Branch, and Amik.
Right.
And so I don't think really Terrion's even going to factor into that.
Right.
And Kirby, Terrion, and Amik, they've played together quite a handful of times. So I do think they can get that communication down. But I'm with you. That is a spot of vulnerability that causes a little bit of concern.
Yeah. The only thing I was going to add, because you kind of jumped my point there, is those outside corners are going to be playing man a lot, which does not require that much communication, does not require that much handing off responsibilities and things like that, like zone coverage would. So that stuff that like Terrion's going to be like, there's nothing about the Lions defense I think is going to be too big or too complicated for Terrion Arnold early on. It's hey, what did you do good at Alabama? Yeah, that's what you're going to do here. Pretty much that. The rest will figure itself out. I think we also just have to also acknowledge that sometimes you're just going to have to tip your hat to an offense. Offenses put up points in this league. The rules are tipped in their favor. So a guy like Matthew Stafford, listen, Stafford's going to throw for 200, 250 yards at least. It's going to happen. It doesn't mean that the Lions secondary is bad. It doesn't mean that Aaron Glenn is an idiot. It doesn't mean that Terrion Arnold's the worst draft pick. Like, none of that. Now, if we get to, I don't know, how early do they play the Titans?
Oh,
if we get, they're in week 8. if they have a rough showing, I guess, against the Cardinals, their receiving core is okay, but I'm not scared of their offense yet. Like if there are struggles in Arizona in week 3, maybe some doubt starts to creep in. But 1, I wouldn't expect that. 2, I always want to remind people of this because it's very much true. How you play in September not always matches how you play in December and January. And this team, it's going to matter a lot more how they're playing in December and January because they're going to play some January football this year. A lot of it. And I don't care if they drop a couple early games that they shouldn't because they're going to make the playoffs. And once they get there, that's when the real season starts. All right. And I think we'll leave us with that. You got one more thing to say? It looked like you were about to open your mouth and say something. No?
No, I was just going to fill the dead air.
Okay.
You paused, so I was like, "Oh, am I supposed to say something?"
It was a
And then
dramatic pause. It was a mic drop moment.
That's why I let it go. I let you have your moment, and then you ruined it by asking me if I needed trying to be polite.
Dang it. All right. Well,
polite.
Before we close out, a lot of people have asked what our schedule is going to be like on the podcast and things like that. Mm-hmm. So you're going to get these midweek mailbags recorded on Tuesday. They'll be on the podcast feed on Wednesday. We'll have our very new preview podcast on the podcast feed, dropping either Thursdays or Fridays. I know in this particular case, we're going to record on Wednesday, so it'll probably drop on your feed on Thursdays. If you're looking for First Bite, that is going to be a Pride of Detroit direct only offering now. So you need to go to prideofdetroit.com/subscribe to get that and a whole bunch of other features. We just announced that Ty Schulter, who you may remember from the Lions in Winter days, or he started Lions Wire and helped Erik get his career to where it is today.
He molded me more than probably anybody else has, to be honest. He is a big influencer on how I write.
You're going to get a solo piece from Ty Schulter every single week on Pride of Detroit Direct, including this Wednesday. And then you'll get the main POD cast the Monday after every game, other than Sunday night football games, in which we're going to record on Monday night, and you'll get on the podcast feed Tuesday. So if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to me, Jeremy Reitzman, at Detroit on Lion on Twitter. You can reach out to Erik too. He's way nicer on Twitter than he is in person. So go to at Erik Schlitt.
That's true. That's true. Anywhere really, like anything social platform related. Yes, I'm much nicer there.
Which is usually the opposite of people, right? Like people are jerks on social media and super nice in person.
No. Yeah.
Anyways, you can follow us there. Make sure you read all of our stuff or don't. Whatever. We love you guys for what you do. So until after Sunday, it's chaos. Be kind.
Recording stopped.
All right. Time for segment 3 with a thorough analysis of Jack Fox's ball trajectory and the coming of age story of Hogan Hatton. No.
You know what it was? You know what really pushed me over the edge to side with Scott Daly was I was in the locker room after game 3 and we're getting ready to we're wrapping up our interviews and we're doing our thing, and then Hogan's right there when I said, "Hey Hogan, how you doing?" And he said, "Another day at the office," and then left. And I went, "No, he's never gonna make it." And so that's why I went with Scott.
See, that's a rookie mistake, because that is the appropriate response for a long snapper is, "Oh, you're talking to me? I'm only going to give you 2 words and then I'm out of here." Like that is the long snapper media relationship in a nutshell. I don't know about a Stafford appreciation video. If I had to bet money on it, I would
bet no.
I would also say no.
No. Sunday, listen. Week 1 in a year, you're literally talking Super Bowl on Sunday night in front of a national audience. The place is going to be rocking.
Yeah.
You're not going to do a heartfelt appreciation for the opposing quarterback. You're going to show a brand new hype video that's going to get people fired up. You're going to have people chanting Jared Goff. You're going to show a picture of Kelly Stafford and her kid so everyone can boo again. And you're gonna get the crowd going.
Now, here's the eventual trajectory of Matthew Stafford and how eventually he will get applauded by the Ford Field crowd. It's going to happen after his career is over. It's going to happen week 1 of the 2029 season. The Lions are celebrating. It's a Thursday night game opener, obviously, because the Lions just won the Super Bowl. And they cut to Matthew Stafford in the crowd in a suite where he's waving and throwing some thumbs up.
Jason, is he like Jason Kelsey, where he's shirtless and
no.
like spilling beer on people?
I would love that, but no. Like at some point, I do find the discussion, and it's way too early, but I do find the discussion of whether he'd make the Lions Ring of Honor to be a very interesting one. I don't think it's a clear-cut answer. I'd love him for him to do it, but the fact remains his biggest accomplishments happened outside of this franchise. I don't know. I'd like him to be welcomed with open arms at some point to this franchise. I do think Detroit is still very important to them as a city. I wouldn't be completely surprised if they moved back here after his playing career is over.
I would be.
You think so?
Yeah, I think the podcaster wants to have her heart set out
Maybe.
in the sunshine.
It's very possible. But I think the city means enough to them where they will at some point after his playing career is over return to Ford Field, get on the Jumbotron, and maybe then is when you play a little thank you type thing.
I really think here's the problem here, and again, I'm trying to be nice, but here's the problem isn't him. Okay. Like if he comes back, he will get applauded. But if she comes back, people are going to boo her. Like she has burned bridges in this town, man. Like he has it. Like he got all mad, but like that's competitive Stafford and blah blah blah. That's fine. Like it's fine. We get that. But like
you're not wrong, but
I don't know of anybody like that in Detroit that I've heard say positive things about her. And like she continues to put her foot in her mouth.
It's incredible though, too, because she had such goodwill. Like people were rooting for her with all the brain tumor stuff.
Yes. But like she made a lot of people, she rubbed a lot of people the wrong way.
Sure.
On the way out. And then some of the antics that she's done in LA have been, I would say, not up to what Detroit fans look for in someone like that they want to look up to. Like, and I mean, like,
I love that she was upset and surprised that LA turned into not be like a home field disadvantage for the Rams, where they have to go silent count in their own house, and she was mad about that. Like, yeah, not every place is Detroit.
Wow. I mean, she threw pretzels at a fan, as RGA mentions. If you remember bringing that part up, remember that?
I do remember that.
Like, she goes on podcasts and she talks about her being, the games she played, and like, I don't know. I mean, it's college, but like she's bringing it up like she's still in college. Like it's still something that
it's a cute story.
It's a fun story. Yeah. Like, and the sad thing is I heard that story 5 years prior or whatever, right? Like, I don't know. She just.
All right. This is way too much Kelly Stafford talk.
No, we haven't mentioned. I mentioned her name once, didn't I? Yeah. But I it's a weird oddball match, but like I think he would be very much accepted.
Yeah.
By the Lions fans.
I think so too.
Not so much her.
Speaking of people I want to boo, Lions Blood 20 claimed he found the picture of me in front of a podium.
Nice. Is it just the podium? Amazing. That's awesome. Very well done. Very well done.
Not funny.
That's great. Made me laugh. Very well.
Rude. Lost Ocean, thank you for the 42 months subscribed to the channel. Not that obvious, 15 months subscribed to the channel. Darth Hippo, 44 months subscribed to the channel, says, oh, baby, 44 months. We call that the Malcolm Rodriguez. Can we see the podium next to Galley? You people. 5'9" is average, all right?
I think someone asked earlier who's the tallest between Ben, Riz, and Galley, and I think it's Ben.
I think it's Ben as well, but it's close.
There you go. We got to ask again. Yeah, I think it's Ben.
Yeah. Are there any assistants on staff that could be offensive coordinator futures in offensive defensive coordinators in the future?
Yes, multiple.
Name them.
Multiple.
All of them.
Well, Scotty Montgomery, right
Yep.
off the bat, seems like he's a OC waiting.
He's already interviewed for a couple of OC jobs, right? Or were they head
including
coach?
Detroit's.
True.
He's done OCs. He might have done a head coach, but he's done OCs. I think. Oh gosh, why am I blanking?
Shep.
Passing coordinator as well. Why am I blanking on his name?
Terrell Williams.
No. The OC, the next Ben Johnson, Tanner. Yeah, thank you, Tanner Engstrom. He is basically, when they took off the tight ends off his plate and let him be passing game coordinator, he's basically been like Ben's shadow.
Yeah.
Right.
He
like
interviewed for the Patriots job, right?
Yeah, he's in line. So right off the bat, you have two
on offense
OCs that could potentially be sitting there.
Yeah.
I would lean Scotty myself because Scotty is awfully impressive, and he's been doing it a lot longer. Not to say that Tanner isn't going.
I was going to say Scotty has that kind of like head coach vibe too.
Yes. On defense, I do think Shep is probably the front runner if they were to move on from AG, if he were to get a head coaching job or whatnot, right? I do think Shep is probably the guy to keep the closest eye on. The other new guys we just don't know enough about. I mean, yes, they've been in their positions for a while, but as far as like us being able to ascertain like whether or not they'd be ready to step in, I don't know. I think it's too early for me, but Shep certainly, again, has that persona, that demeanor, that attitude that you look for in a guy who's on an ascending coaching path trajectory. So, yeah.
Townsend is one that I want to keep an eye on. Like, I don't have enough experience with the Shea Townsend to kind of like catch his vibes in terms of like being a leader, but very, very well regarded coach before he got here.
Yeah.
So.
Yes. So, yeah, I'm very interested to see what happens with him. I get the impression that Williams is a lot like Fraley in the fact that they may just be position coaches that you write a blank check to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they may not want to be anything else. I think if Fraley wanted to be an OC, I would entertain it because he is a guy I do not want to lose.
But a lot of times those coaches in particular are praised for their attention to detail with the specific craft that they're doing. So Hank Fraley is a guy that is a technique master on the offensive line. Not to say he doesn't have the X's and O's chops to be an offensive coordinator, but he's so valued at that particular position that you don't want to take him away from that.
And he contributes in the run game too. Sure. Like he adds elements into that. And so but I don't know the scope of his knowledge beyond just
Yeah.
what I know that he does. So at least three. I know Randall L wants. I just saw that question that pop up. I know Randall L wants to head there,
Yeah.
and I think he's getting there. I don't know how close he is, and that's certainly someone that I want to keep an eye on because I'm a massive Randall L fan. I was a massive Randall L player fan, much less as a coach. The only, I think I mentioned this before, the only non-Lions jersey I own is a Pittsburgh Steelers Antoine Randall L jersey. Like, like that's how big of a fan I am of him.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know if he's ready, but I think he's got the chops.
Phoenix asked about FIP, and I believe FIP was asked once.
Mm. Didn't he say
Recently.
he likes where he's at or
Yeah,
something?
I
Or
believe
I'm
he
trying
did.
to remember. Yeah, like he
I
said,
was-
it's just he's really good at what he does, and he's comfortable with
He's
that.
so happy. I
Essentially,
think he said like earlier in his career he may have considered. I wonder if I can
Yeah,
find that.
that sounds familiar.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he said something like that, but and I feel like it was like relatively recently.
I don't remember it recently, but I'm with you.
Oh my god, I'm searching through some of his transcripts, and you forget that some of his answers have like 1,500 words under them.
when I when I was looking for Nowoski quotes, I had to cut his down.
I think we've said it before, but we often refer to Dave Phipp answers as Fipper Busters because he goes in like 7-minute tangents on one question, and that means there's like room for 3 other questions.
Right. Yeah.
And
His
I don't-
transcripts are like 4 questions long.
And to be clear, I don't think anyone is accusing him of doing that on purpose. I think that's just who he is. Like, you find one topic that catches his interest and he'll go off. And I think we all enjoy it because, to be quite honest, how often do we write stories on Dave Phipp press conferences? Not that often.
Not
But-
a ton, but I accessed 3 of them for my Nowoski
There you
article. Yeah, it's fun to have it. You know what I mean? Like he's a fun guy.
Yeah. Who is the biggest trash talker on the team now that CJGJ is gone? I think Alex Anzalone has the biggest reputation of being a trash talker.
Aaron Glenn. JMO talks a lot.
You just reminded me of the training camp spat between those two on that one day where they were just going at each other's throats in a way that just felt very fun to me, but I think some people interpreted it as like, is JMO crossing a line here? And
he was getting close.
It's
because I don't think like Randall L and Scotty Montgomery, like they're not Deuce. Like
Right.
they're not like Deuce. Like Deuce would he had it.
yeah,
It was just part of his DNA.
I want Deuce
Right.
back. Nothing against Scotty Montgomery, but I want Deuce to be just like an assistant guy. Can we bring him back?
You could make him yeah. I thought doesn't he have a job?
Maybe.
I mean you could I thought
I
that
know
they
the
might
Panthers
give
thing
him
didn't work
a
out.
right. But I thought they might give him a I thought that they might give him like some sort of assistant job, right? Yeah, he's Browns running back coach right now. Browns.
Why you
which
gotta
is-
join the Panthers and the Browns? What are you doing to your own career,
Yeah.
man?
Yeah. I was a little surprised they didn't give him something. But again, if he could have different aspirations than what they were offering too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
This
Like,
could
they
have been the
couldn't
last
offer him-
time, though. This could have been his last chance to team up with Aaron Glenn one more time. Or maybe he'll join Aaron Glenn's team next year.
Maybe that would be awkward, I would think, though.
What do you mean?
To see like a position coach or coordinator arguing with the head coach like that.
Maybe. But let the people be themselves. You know,
No, I'm with you.
take
I'm
a
with you.
take a note from Dan Campbell's book. Crook FTW 46 months subscribed to the channel. Appreciate you. All these subscriptions in the 40s now. 40 months. 4 years almost with some of these people. That's crazy. It's crazy to me. All right, I think it might be time to start wrapping up here, unless there are more questions out there.
Hey, I have a question.
What?
The live chat feed that we have here, does it blend both YouTube and
it does
Twitch together? That's pretty cool.
It's pretty neat. I think it might be against Twitch rules, but don't tell them.
Okay, all right. Well, erase that part of the vlog. But
yeah, everyone gets their name up there when they chat.
Nice.
YouTube and Twitch living in harmony.
Well, because I was switching back and forth, trying to, and then I was like, wait a minute, why am I looking at this live chat feed and it looks like it's the same?
No updates on the road game get together. We're trying to see if nothing is official, but we're trying to lock down a venue to see if it's feasible. We're running out of time. I'm not going to lie. And I'm not entirely sure it's going to happen at this point because SB Nation is not planning this at all. And they're trying to make me do it. And I'm a horrible planner. And I'm kind of busy right now. Maybe approach me in this when it's not the end of training camp. Anyways, we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah. If they're putting it on you, I have some bad news for everybody.
Hey, I can make fun of myself for that. You can't.
No.
All right.
I wouldn't want to lie.
You could just not say anything. If you don't have anything nice to say, Erik.
I get it.
Are players making the interviewees laugh behind the scenes like it seemed that Hutch was laughing at 20 men in today's video? Maybe. I wasn't at Hutchinson today, so I'm not sure what you're referencing. Gibbs is always laughing too. Yeah, it's just vibes are good, man. Vibes are immaculate. Sometimes there are players in the background making faces or doing stuff, but yeah.
I have a picture of like that happening at training camp, right? Like, I don't know if I can find it fast enough here, but it was like Kirby walking behind Terrion when Terrion was speaking to the press.
Right.
And Kirby just like walked up behind him and they started asking like, hey, what's it like playing with Kirby? Like thinking they might catch him in a with Kirby right behind him type of thing. And he was fine. That rookie, man, he's not fazed by much, is he? So
Sheila's pretty much at every training camp practice that I saw. So she's around. You got the picture?
Like Kirby. He's just staring at him.
But yeah, it's tough. We don't typically see Sheila during the season, but during training camp she was out there I think every day.
Yep.
So
even Martha came out a few times.
True. So I would say she's still very much daily involved.
You gotta be careful not to get run over by the golf cart.
I'm not gonna answer that question, Killer Cornbread. Watch your mouth.
Oh, Jeremy is. Come on now.
All right.
I'll answer.
We're done here. No more short jokes. This isn't elementary school anymore. What's up, Akumizer?
Wow.
Shout out from Panama. Every now and then we get a chance to talk to Sheila, but not a ton. Anyways.
They keep her with her own private security to keep us away from her.
She does have a little bit of an entourage.
Yeah.
Jeremy has a short fuse. You son of a... yeah, Karen. Sorry, that is a tough break in in the 2020s. Anyways, we're going to get out of here. Chris is going to be live. I'm not sure who his guests are going to be. As far as I understand, the preview podcast is going to kind of have a rotating cast of Pride of Detroit guests with Chris to help preview the season or preview the game. So be on the lookout for that tomorrow night. I think 7:30 is where they're aiming for. No, 6:30? 6:30. No, I can literally just look at my DMs. 6:45.
Nailed it.
We had to move it a bit earlier. I thought it was whatever. Okay, 6:45. I believe they'll be live on this channel for a brand new preview podcast that has never been seen. Enjoy that. And then Pride of Detroit Direct subscribers, you will get First Bite on Friday morning. We're going to record it actually on Wednesday as well, but you aren't going to see it when we're recording it.
Ooh.
Yeah. Anyways, enjoy the rest of your guys' Tuesday. Enjoy your Wednesday. Enjoy the football. I'm not going to see you guys until the Madden Sim, the live audience until the Madden Sim. So enjoy the Thursday game. Enjoy the Friday game. And I guess go Eagles on Friday.
Yeah, you have to.
We have to.
You have to.
Yeah. I'll see you guys Sunday for the Madden Sim. Oh, you know what? Let's raid our good friend Bearded Blevins. He went live a second ago, so we're going to raid him on Twitch because YouTube does not have raid capabilities. So if you want, they're doing their sports show right now. So it's going from sports show talk to sports show talk. If you want more sports show talk, head on over there. I'm pretty sure they're going to be doing an NFL season preview. I'll drink my milk. YouTube, there's going to be this awkward time where we send our Twitch audience to a raid, and I'm just going to make sure that they're getting sent on the raid. But we're still going to be live, and it's just going to be me checking if the raid went through. So it's going to be weird and awkward. But make sure you tune in tomorrow for the preview show. Make sure you got the alerts on so you don't miss a single stream. You're there for the Madden Sim on Saturday. Probably going to be around 10 a.m. But until then, guys, appreciate all the support. Appreciate all the love. I even appreciate some of the jerks out there.
Whoa. I'm right here, man.
All right. We'll see you guys later. Raid. This is the awkward part, Twitch. Let me just make sure it happened.
If you donate, you get entered into a chance to win.
Now you're going to hear his stream.
Power GPU gaming PC.
Did it happen? Did it happen? Did it happen?
Signed by Tyler.